Hi, everybody. Today's review is The Beatles' second album from 1964 by The Beatles. Released on April 10th, 1964, it is 22 songs and 55 minutes. But when you consider that half of the album is in mono, and then the other half of the album is in stereo, or fake stereo, duophonic, it's really only 11 songs, 26 minutes, 25 seconds. And it is a really quick listen. I mean, you can listen to all 22 tracks relatively easy. Produced by George Martin, mixed by Capitol Records executive David Dexter. There's a whole story behind that. So let's get right into the nitty gritty. It's these 11 tracks. It's 6 covers, all from the record with the Beatles, which is the UK or global release with the Beatles. And the rest are just B-sides and singles and EPs. So this is something that David Dexter and Capitol Records just cobbled together, okay? The album cover, it says The Beatles' second album, and it says featuring She Loves You and Roll Over Beethoven, and then you have all these pictures of the Beatles, so that's Ringo, that's George, that's Paul McCartney, and that's John Lennon, if you don't know them, and you just got these black and white or sepia-looking pictures from the band. It says electrifying big beat performances by England's Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. And then on the back, it's pretty much black and white. And you can see here you got the track listing. The first 11 tracks are stereo, and then, but by the way, it's they labeled it stereo, but it's not really stereo. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, and then they've got the cover for is that With the Beatles or Meet the Beatles? That says Meet the Beatles. So this is the follow-up album. Okay, and this is what the CD looks like. The CD is like a vinyl. It looks like a vinyl, like a fake, and then it's got the rainbow on the outside. Okay, so that's it. The Beatles' second album. Now, the David Dexter remixes. I've talked about this in the Beatles album rankings, but I'll just go over it quickly, and then we'll move on to the songs. The David Dexter remixes are in stereo duophonic, have lots of reverb and echo added to it. And if you go read the Wikipedia page, it has information on it, and the liner notes in the book have more information on it. There's a lot of controversy surrounded by the stereo to mono down mix to the songs Thank You Girl and Money, which created a new mono mix that is different from the original mono mix. Okay? It's all really, it has to do with how David Dexter captured the files and how they created some new mixes, okay? And that's the controversy. Long Tall Sally and You Can't Do That also have new mono mixes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link to the explanation of duophonic, the pseudo stereo, and the mono reference in the video, in the album rankings video, but also it's from whatgoeson.com. Okay, so I'll put that in the notes here when I put it up. All right, enough of that. Do your own research. It is kind of interesting to read about it, though. I'll tell you that. All right, the first track on the Beatles' second album is track 1, Roll Over Beethoven, 2 minutes and 44 seconds. This is a cover sung by George Harrison, and it's one of the better songs on the album. It actually gets the album off to a really good start. So this is a Chuck Berry tune. And the original Chuck Berry tune, by the way, I did a lot of research to get to this. It's in the key of C major, and it's in conventional time or 4/4, however you want to call it. What the Beatles did to the song is they moved it up 2 steps to the key of D major, and they kept the same time signature. And the verse is 12 bars, and this is when George is singing, well, gonna write a letter, gonna mail it to my local DJ. Okay. Da 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 da. Okay. Woo! Okay. And then the bridge is 12 bars, and that's the part where George is singing, well, if you feel and like it, get your lover and reel and rock it. Da 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 da. Okay, so it's similar, but he's changed it up just a little wee bit. And then there's a 12-bar guitar solo in it, which is George. I really like George Harrison's. I like his guitar. I like his lead guitar, but I especially like his solos. He's got a little bit of country in him, and it's like a bluesy country mix. Okay, the song structure for Roll Over Beethoven is a verse, 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 bridge, that bridge that we talked about, and then the guitar solo 12 bars, and then verse, verse. And that's Roll Over Beethoven. And pretty good start to the album. Track 2 is Thank You Girl. It's 2 minutes and 1 seconds. Thank You Girl is the B-side to the song From Me to You. Okay? So this is one of the B-sides that they cobbled and put onto the album. John Lennon is on lead vocals. And I'm going to read this to you. This is what Genius says. Thank You Girl was written as the follow-up to Please Please Me single, but John Lennon didn't think it worked. So it got made the B-side to From You to Me. From Me to You. You know the song. From Me to You. Okay, which the band were a lot happier with. The song was largely co-written with a leaning towards Paul styling. Okay, so it's a John Lennon song. He wrote it like it's a Paul song, and John sang it. It's in the key of D major, and it's conventional 4/4 time. And the verse is 12 bars, and the bridge is 12 bars. And it's a verse, verse, bridge, verse, outro song. And it's not too complicated of a song. It sounds like just any other Beatles song. Okay, track 3 is You Really Got a Hold on Me. It's 2 minutes and 58 seconds. And this is a Beatles cover of a Smokey Robinson song sung lead by John and George. So sometimes it's just John, and sometimes it's John and George. And then it's Paul on harmonizing with John and George. Okay, so it's the 3 of them, but it's mainly John and George. Okay, you can hear it you'll hear it. It's obvious. It's in the key of A major, and it's in 4/4 time. It's a very slow tempo. And by the way, to count it out, it's very slow. It's kind of agonizing for me to count that out. The verse is 12 bars, and this is when John and George are singing, I don't like you, but I love you, da 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 da. Okay, so that's 12 bars of that. And then the refrain is 8 bars of I love you, and all I want you to do is just hold me, hold me, hold me. Okay? And then the outro is 4 bars. It's a verse, verse, refrain, outro. You Really Got a Hold on Me. It's an interesting track. Okay, track 4 is Devil in Her Heart, 2 minutes and 23 seconds. This is a cover by the Donnies, written by somebody named Richard Drapkin, and lead vocals by John Lennon. Okay, it's in the key of G major, so up, going up again, and it's in 4/4 time. The chorus is 8 bars, and John Lennon singing, she's got the swivel in her heart, no, 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 this no, 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 this I can't believe, da, 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 da. Okay, and the verse is 8 bars, don't take chances if your romance is so important to you. Okay, so this one is like one of those songs where they're going to lead with the chorus, and then the verse comes later, and they just going to weave the chorus and verse in and out. The outro is the 8 bars, it's the same as the chorus, so it's that, she's got the devil in her, okay, so, it's a chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, outro. That's a lot of switching around for a song that's less than 2.5 minutes. But that's The Devil in Her Heart by the Donnies, as covered by the Beatles by John Lennon. Track 5 is Money. Money, That's What I Want. 2 minutes and 47 seconds. This is also a cover. Lead vocals by John Lennon. And it's a single from 1959 by Barrett Strong, written by somebody named Janie Bradford and Barry Gordy. The Beatles have been playing it since 1961 with Pete Best on drums and re-recorded it for the first time on January 1st, 1962. This is information I got per Wikipedia. I listened to both. So to me, the version was very faithful to the original, right down to the piano and the percussion. But what the Beatles did to it was they changed the key. There's also, by the way, there's also some unrelated songs about money by Rush called The Big Money and Pink Floyd Money, and there's a Yes song called Money. There's probably a gazillion other songs called Money, but they're not related to this. The original version of Money, That's What I Want, it's in the key of A major, and it's 154 beats per minute. What the Beatles did is they jacked it up. Let me see. Actually, I think that's lower. So they took it from A major and they lowered it to E major. And they kept the conventional time signature, but they slowed it down to 128 beats per minute. So it's quite a bit slower. But other than that, it's pretty faithful, like right down to the pianos and everything. The verse is 4 bars, and John is singing, "The best things in life are free, but you can keep them for the birds and bees. Da 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 da, the best things in life are for free." Okay. And then the chorus is 8 bars, and they're just singing, "Now give me money, that's what I want." And then the bridge, it's, I don't know if you'd call it a bridge, but it's a solo of 8 bars, and it's a little bit different. And then the outro was 24 bars, and I lost interest in counting it, but it was about 24 bars. It's verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, outro. Money, That's What I Want. Track 6 is You Can't Do That, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. This is another B-side that they pull in, this time to the song Can't Buy Me Love off of Hard Day's Night. So, this isn't, You Can't Do That is in the key of G major, and it's a Beatles original, and it's in 4/4 time. The verse is, "I got something to say that might cause you pain," and it's 12 bars. And the bridge is, it's this part where they start out, "Everybody's green," and that's 8 bars, and then the guitar solo is 12 bars. This song is a verse, verse, bridge, verse, guitar solo, bridge, verse. And that's You Can't Do That. It's just alright. Track 7 is Long Tall Sally, just a hair over 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 3 seconds. This is a cover. It's a Little Richard tune, and Paul McCartney is going to sing the lead vocals on Long Tall Sally. It's in the key of G major, and it's in 4/4 time. The verse is 12 bars, and Paul starts out going, I saw Uncle John with Long Tall Sally." I like the way Paul McCartney screams, by the way. He's got a really good way of just really getting into it and belting it out. And then there's a 12-bar solo, and then there's a second solo, which is also 12 bars. And then there's an outro, and this is where Paul just sings, "Have some fun tonight. I'm gonna have some fun tonight. Woo!" By the way, Paul also, like, he throws in the woo, just the way Little Richard would. And Long Tall Sally is a verse, verse, guitar solo, verse, the second guitar solo, and then an outro. And it's kind of it's fun. I mean, it's not as good as the Little Richard version, but it's fun. It's fun just to know that the Beatles like to cover, and really they're just paying homage to the people that they look up to. Like, this is who influences us. Track 8 is I Call Your Name. It's 2 minutes and 9 seconds by, it's a Lennon and McCartney tune, and it's lead vocals by John Lennon. And by the way, John Lennon is dominating this album. And if you were to just look at, who wrote what, all these songs will say, like, unless it's a cover, they'll say Lennon and McCartney. But the truth is, if John Lennon's singing lead vocals, that means he wrote it. And he might have taken some cues from Paul, but not much. If it says Lennon and McCartney, and Paul McCartney's singing it, that means he wrote it, but really John Lennon did a lot of helping. Okay, that's just a general rule for the Beatles. I'm not saying that for this song, but if it's a Lennon song, he probably wrote it and did most of it. I Call Your Name is key of E major, and it's in 4/4 time, and the verses are 16 bars. And he's singing, "Oh, I can't sleep at night," and then the bridge is 8 bars. Don't you know I can't take it? And then the guitar solo is 8 bars. And this one is a verse, bridge, verse, guitar solo, bridge, verse, outro. Nothing too complicated. And that's "I Call Your Name" by John Lennon. Track 9 is "Please Mr. Postman," 2 minutes and 34 seconds. This is a cover, and it's a cover of a tune that's very famous by a group called the Marvelettes, which I believe is a girl band. I think it's a bunch of girls singing it. It's in the key of E major and in 4/4 time. Now, what the Beatles did was they bumped it up. They bumped it from A major to B flat major. And then it's mostly the same time. Sounds right. This is the one in the intro. They go, "Oh yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman," and then the verse is 8 bars. So many days you pass me by, and then the chorus is 8 bars. "Oh, Mr. Postman, wait and see." And they do that whole. It's a very famous chorus. And the outro is, "You gotta wait a minute." "Oh, you gotta wait a minute, wait a minute. Oh, yeah." And they're singing that. And there's no guitar solos in this song. If I had to guess, I would say that's John and Paul both singing, or just John. Sometimes it is a little hard to identify. It's an intro, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, outro. So this is one of those songs they mimicked where the chorus comes first and then the verse. And it's got that whole jazz going on. Track 10 is "I'll Get You," 2 minutes and 4 seconds. This is a B-side to "She Loves You," which is a very famous Beatles song. John Lennon is on lead vocals, and he also played the harmonica. So John's on the lead for both the vocals and the harmonica. And from what I read about it, I think I read from Wikipedia or Genius, he was sick when he did the harmonica, so he had to do multiple takes to get it right. "I'll Get You" is in key of D major, and it's in 4/4 time, and the verse is 8 bars, and the chorus is 8 bars. "It's not like me to pretend, but I'll get you in the end." And then the bridge is 8 bars. "Well, there's going to be a time when I'm going to change your mind, when I'm going to make you mine." Sounds like a John Lennon song to me. Verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. So very conventional Beatles song structure. A bit more sophisticated than just verse, bridge, verse. Is what they've done is they've added choruses and they've kept a bridge. And for the time, pretty revolutionary actually for 1964. The last track on the album is "She Loves You," track 11, 2 minutes and 19 seconds. And this is the single. And it's a John Lennon song. It's credited to Lennon and McCartney, but it's definitely a Lennon song. And he's on lead vocals. John Lennon is. It's in the key of G major, which now I'm starting to notice I think he likes singing in that key. And by the way, it's an easy key to write in because G major just has one sharp. So it's very easy to do stuff with. Is it cut time or conventional time? I'm not sure. I should have looked that up. I wrote cut time. Sometimes I write cut time, but it's really conventional time. It's a chorus. The chorus is 8 bars, and it's just, "She loves you, yeah, yeah." I mean, if you haven't heard this song before, then you live under a rock on the moon. The verse is 8 bars. "She loves you." She says you hurt. She says you hurt. So she almost lost her mind. Yeah. The refrain is 8 bars, and to me, it's a little bit different, unique song structure for a Beatles song, especially an early one, with the chorus, verse, refrain, verse, refrain, chorus, verse, refrain, chorus, outro. So they've really done a lot to get you second guessing on what's coming next. She Loves You, and actually for an early Beatles song, it's one of the ones I kind of like. Okay, so let's summarize. That's the last track on the album, She Loves You. So the Beatles' second album, what is it? It's more hits, but it's a bit more boring and bland compared to Meet the Beatles, the one that came a few months before it. It's a very simple song structures and arrangements can compare to, especially if you're comparing it to modern day rock and roll or even to the work that the Beatles were going to do later. It's a very blues based record and it's R&B sounding. The Beatles, they don't really begin to experiment too much until 65 and 66. You'll start to hear it on, well, whatever the Beatles equivalent is for Beatles for Sale. But when they start to do things like mixing up backwards guitar solos, like things like that, and just, sound effects that they added, like, like they're inhaling or whatever, that kind of stuff. That's going to come next year. And 1964 is still pretty conventional. So this Beatles album sold a lot. 2 million records in the United States. That's a lot, especially for back then. And 4.5 stars by allmusic.com. And 5-star rating by the Rolling Stone magazine record guide. So the folks liked it. I think it's just okay. I mean, for a Beatles album, you might like the Beatles and you might not like maybe not. Maybe you're a Rush fan and you're just watching this, but I wouldn't start with the Beatles' second album. Okay, if you want to get into the Beatles, I don't know. You're probably going to be more familiar with the later works or a greatest hits disc or something like that. This one's kind of boring to me. Okay. In 1964, not so much. People were crazy and they wanted Beatles content. So yeah, it sold 2 million records. That's awesome. Okay, that's it for the Beatles' second album. Coming up next on the channel, next week, I'll probably do Kiss, maybe. I'm not sure. Probably Kiss or maybe Tangerine Dream Zeit or Atem or something like that. I don't have every Tangerine Dream album, but I like what I have, and I like the ones that I have, and I like those two. Oh, they're really complicated. I'll think about it. It's probably gonna be a Kiss and a Tangerine Dream, or maybe another Beatles album. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll do a poll. Coach Plow Guys out.